revolutionizing the way women grow, work, live, and lead. Engaging interviews, insightful book reviews, and timeless gems to aid the modern woman in excelling personally and professionally. Hosted by the multi-passionate Tabitha D. James, Unleash the Podcast not only empowers listeners, but also equips them with applicable action-based resources for daily life. Hey friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Unleash the Podcast. I am super excited to be back in your earbuds. I am going to drop a gem today. So on the Unleash Collaborative Facebook page, we've been doing these lunchtime chats for about the last 2 to 3 weeks, right? This week, we got Miss Sierra Young, who's been a previous guest on the podcast, to come on, and we had some real talk, some raw talk, some mental health talk, some dealing with your stuff talk, some how do you deal with it all type talk. And as we were going through the conversation, I kept thinking, this has to go on the podcast. Like, this has to go on the podcast. It's been a few weeks since I've uploaded an episode. I've just been dealing, y'all. If you're listening to this in real time, we're currently living through a global pandemic. So your girl's been living. But if you've been missing me, you've been missing the gems, find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have been sharing the knowledge via live chats, via quotes. I've just been dropping gems. For my believers, you know, I'm a fellow believer, and I asked God what he really, really wanted me to do in this season. And one of the downloads he sent to me was be a blessing to others, be a resource, and I have been obedient to that calling. Thus said, here goes this gem, here goes this greatness. This was originally created for the Facebook and the Zoom platform, so you'll hear us doing some dialogue back and forth with the audience, but that just means that we're bringing the Unleashed tribe here to you. So get into this chat, grab your notebook, take some notes, and just enjoy the gems.
Okay, so it's okay. It's gonna be all right. I'm super excited. Sierra, you know, I was looking through my archives and I happened to find a few things that spoke to you a little bit this morning. So I wanted to make sure I had them handy for when we drop those plugs later on.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I had, you know, the visual representation. But thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about you while I'm sharing this on all places.
So for everybody who don't know, I am Sierra Young. I wear many hats. But I am really passionate about mental health, currently pursuing my master's in clinical mental health. And I do a lot of mental health with single moms and adolescents, trying to normalize that conversation because I feel like that's very important, especially in the Black community. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom of 2 girls. I do makeup. I do photography. I do a little bit of everything. So I'm excited to let Tep get all of my life today.
Thank you, though. But thank you for letting me get all up in your life today. Thank you for kind of outlining to us all the hats that you wear, because I think that's going to be a critical piece to the conversation because you bring an interesting narrative when we think about the fact that wearing a lot of hats is not easy, right? Wearing a lot of hats is not easy on the mind. And you mentioned mental health. I just want to know, let me know, let people know how you, school, kids, business is, nonprofit, speaking, makeup, slaying. How?
I don't know. I don't know. Some days are definitely easier than others, but honestly, what it took for me was being able to pour into all of the things that I love. Like, I don't do anything just because. Everything that I do has a creative element to it, or is something that I'm really passionate about. So being able to balance those things come a little bit more naturally because it's all things that I want to do. Sometimes, like, you know, when I was working my 9 to 5, I wasn't doing anything that was purpose driven. It was, I need money and that's it. And so my motivating force was just, I got to get money. Whereas now money isn't the focus. It's more so pouring into all of those things that make me who I am. And that's what helps me keep balance and juggling all the million things that I be having going on.
Wow. So you said a few key things that I want to kind of pull and pick on. So when you say you found purpose and, since you're doing things that you like and you love, you feel like are directly attached to you, it makes it a little bit easier. Have you always been that way? Is that like a common theme of the Sierra life? Was there something pivotal that was like changed you to kind of move towards this way? Like, how you get there? Give us the keys.
So I feel like after I graduated Coastal, my major was communication. It was so broad. I didn't have a focus. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I was in constant search of, well, what I'm going to do to feel fulfilled. Yes, working to make money is cool, paying bills and all that, but I didn't really feel fulfilled. It wasn't until I had kids where I was like, okay, if I'm going to go be at work for 8 hours a day away from my kids the majority of the week, I need to be doing something that is of value. It needs to make sense for me to be taking away time from watching my kids grow up, missing those things. I mean, because both of my kids was in daycare at young ages. And so I had to figure out what can I do to make sense. So after having kids and starting therapy, and being encouraged to write my book, the first book, Cheers to Him, I knew that telling my story helped me grow as an individual. And so I knew, okay, I got to figure out how can I do that for other people? If sharing my story makes me feel this liberated, how can I do that with other people? And that's what started the journey of finding my purpose, because I started telling my story and that was very healing for me. So I was like, okay, so this is part of purpose. Purpose is letting people know what you've been through, how you've grown and got to where you are. And that led me to all of the other avenues that I'm involved in too.
Wow. So, don't kill me. When you got to purpose, right? And you're like, okay, I'm telling my story. I'm starting to operate more in my lane of excellence. I don't work at that job anymore. I'm able to spend more time with my kids. Was it easy? How did you really, even your facial expression changed when I asked that question? Was it easy? Was it always lucrative? Was it like, oh snap, I'm a business owner now, I got it all figured out? Like, how did that just business aspect even evolve, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, let me be real transparent. I've been broke for the last 2 years, okay? I walked away from my job with no plan, no nothing. I mean, I had just bought a house. You want to be honest, a couple months after I quit my job, my car got repossessed. So yeah, like, no, it's never been just, oh yeah, like, because I think people think that I have it all together because I do all of these things. But if you want to be honest, it's only been within the last few months that I really started to reap the financial benefits of everything that I do. And so it took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of people pouring into me. It took a lot of support and motivation from those closest to me in order for me to even keep going, because there's been plenty of times where I was like, you know what, I'm going back to work. I'm going to find me a job and I'm going to go back to work. But every time I tried to do that, I would get a job denial. I got a job denial from CVS. Okay, like, talking about humbling experience. But I knew that was something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. And so in order for me to continue on this path of purpose, I had to really evaluate what my goals were and what it is that I really wanted to do. And it was within the last year that I really knew that mental health was something that was critical to me as an individual. And I know that that's critical to a lot of people and their success and their growth. And that's why a lot of people get stuck, because like you always tell me, you got to get out your own way. And that's one of the things that you have to get out the way with, is being in a draining place mentally. Because if you're going to a job and you're not happy, if you're not making the money to pay your bills, if you don't get a break from your kids, if you have all of these things going on, then how can you be successful? How can you focus on those things that you love when you don't even have the mindset to do that? And I'll be honest, I don't think a year ago that I was ready for what I'm doing now. I wasn't mentally ready, because if somebody had walked up to me with a plan, like a opportunity, I wouldn't have been set up for it. And so I think that's really how I got to that. Okay, let me walk in my purpose.
5 questions could stem from all of that magic. But with it being May, with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, with you being a mental health professional in training, I want to hone in on the importance of how you align therapy into your life, how you accepted that you define norms. I'm not sure if therapy or therapeutic type things or something that was normal to you in your whole entire life, or it was something that was introduced to you later. But I commend you for being honest, being transparent, and getting the help needed. So how can people even start, that process of, you know what, I might need some higher level help than myself and my homies? What does that look like for folks?
So for me, I had just had Kyla. So this was 2016. And I want to say this was around, I had her in January. So this was around like the summertime. And I was overwhelmed with raising 2 kids on my own, having to go to work, having to pay bills, to do all these things, really not having the money. And one day I was going to see my brother perform, and it was like a highlight of him, but I know I was suppressing a lot of things. And on the way back, I tried to drive into an 18-wheeler. And that moment for me, because the 18-wheeler was there, but when I tried to move over, it wasn't there. So I heard a voice that said, "It's not your time." And so I felt like, okay, if I am going to move through life, if I'm going to be able to raise my kids in a healthy environment, I have to address what's going on with me. My mama can't help me. My friends can't help me. Nobody can't help me. So I need to get help. And it was okay to pray, but that wasn't enough. And so it just so happened that a office was inside of my office that I worked in at the time. Literally, I walked past it every day and never paid attention to it. But it was clear as day when I went in the office after all of that happened. And I started therapy and really uncovering a lot. Therapy was something that we didn't grow up talking. It wasn't normal. I didn't really hear people talk about it. And I have experiences where in high school, I wrote a suicide note and the guidance counselor wasn't really helpful. So I always felt like it was, well, if anything happened to you, they're just going to tell people around you. It's not going to be confidential information. So I had this negative association with therapy and talking to people about the deepest parts of, me and what I was going through. And I didn't know how to handle that. So it took me a little while to warm up to my first therapist before I was able to be transparent in what I was going through, how I was feeling, things that I had experienced growing up, things I had experienced in college, and even things that I had been experiencing as a mom and in that moment. And my therapist helped me deal instead of like pushing things under the rug, instead of holding things in and covering up my feelings. She was very helpful in just bringing things to the to going beyond the surface. I say that all the time. Like, it was necessary for somebody to go beyond the surface with me, and my therapist helped me do that. And I mean, I still go to therapy. I go to therapy every week. I will not miss a beat, okay, like at all. So yeah, I'm an advocate. I'm a major proponent of therapy, because it is essential to me, my life, my growth, my purpose, everything. because without it, it just, yeah.
Oh, wow. I did not know you all. Now, I told you I sent Sierra the questions. However, I didn't have any idea she was she was going to drop the magic like that and get so transparent. Comments from Facebook. We could all use some therapy. For everyone in here. Therapy for Black girls is an excellent resource. Indeed, it is. Follow them, their podcast, their page, all of that. Normalize on Instagram is another very good resource. We are almost to the end of May. Ow, that went by fast. Sierra has been leading a 30-day or 31 days, how many ever days are in May, challenge. And every day is something intentionally curated for you to show up for you to take care of you. I think today is to switch up your routine, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, switch up your routine. Sometimes we get psyched out in the mind, but simply because we're doing the same thing over repeatedly and not adding any spice, especially in these times. That's critical. So speaking of the times, how has, if any or at all, the pandemic played a part in, your mental health, your well-being, anything along those lines? Thank you.
The first 2 weeks were bad. It was just bad. At that time, I was not seeing my therapist because she was on maternity leave. So I didn't have that outlet. Of course, the change of routine with my kids not being at school and us being at home 24/7, not really able to go see my family, my kids' dad living 4 hours away. I was just like, what am I supposed to do? Not on top of having to teach them and do their work. No, I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. And so, there was a saving grace by the name of Rachel Gibbs, who was like, you know what? I'm coming to check on you. I'm coming to see about you. And she was able to come and really get me out of that negative space. And so happened when she came, my therapist came back from maternity leave, and it really kind of put me back in that good mental space. But I had to, again, one thing that my therapist told me to do was be very intentional about taking care of myself while all of these things were going. So one thing she gave me homework to do was, you need to have a mental check-in every hour on the hour, and don't ever forget it. I don't care if you in the middle of something. I don't care if you're in a meeting. I don't care where you are. You need to do that. And so that made me be able to stay on top of how I was feeling and what I was feeling in each moment of every hour. So at the beginning, it was rough. But I'm much better now in balancing my mental health, especially with this whole pandemic going on.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing just so much transparency, from suicide to mommying through a pandemic, through living, through just accepting that, I need help, I need more. Shouting out support systems, right? Oftentimes we forget sometimes to know we ain't doing this by ourselves, right? Nobody, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. And you definitely can't have it all without the help, the love, support of other people who can see something. I'm sure Rachel checks on you a lot, but there had to be something that day at that time to be like, yo, I'm coming to see you, just tapping into I can tell when something's wrong with my people. So shout out to her for that. I got a book. Y'all, I got a book. So shameless plug. I'm all for shameless plugs. This is The Message Within, teen journal. Exhale your thoughts, understand their power, and affirm the vision. Okay, this is specifically for teens, but let me just tell you about how if you're an adult, this is a good resource also. I just turned to a page that I feel correlates directly with what you said. So this is definitely my moment. It's okay to not be okay. Your feelings are your own. Never let anyone make you feel bad for having them. Mm-hmm. And then after this statement, there's current mood sheets for you to journal and for you to express your feelings. A major theme, Sierra came and spoke with my teenagers, and she talked about, owning your stuff, right? And realizing that it's okay to not be okay. Oftentimes we're put in these boxes, these shells, these just circles that we're always on stage, we're always performing, we're always doing. I'll be transparent right now. Like, I muted myself because there was noise in the background, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, like, I'm home. Like, yes, this backdrop is here, but I'm home. Life is still happening, and everybody is not going to just stop their life because Tabitha's having lunchtime chat with Sierra. It's okay for things to have some imperfections. It's okay for you to not feel well. Yesterday, I had a very human day. And one person that I definitely reached out to outside of the meeting was Sierra, because she know I be out here trying to robot, right? Like, I be out here trying to robot. And yesterday, it just kind of all came to a head that, like, this pandemic thing is like real life stuff is not normal, and who knows what new normal will even ever look like. And I think that was what made me be human. So when you have situations where you're like, okay, I'm not okay, and that's okay, what are some things that you like do? Like, say you can't get to your therapist, or your therapist appointment is like in 2 days, no one is available. What are some self-help things that we could give today?
Writing is essential for me because I feel like if I'm able to write my feelings out, at least they're coming out of my mind, my heart, wherever they're stemming from, they can write. And paper can't talk back. And you also have an opportunity to reflect back on that when you do write. And that's why I think that it's journaling, or even if you're on your computer and you're typing it out, it's so important to do that, because later on, because even with Cheers to Him, I still go back and read Cheers to Him because that was therapeutic to me, to see where I was then, because throughout that book, I was in such an emotional space. And I go back and I'll be like, dang, I can't believe, that's where I was. So journaling is definitely something that I do. And I typically every night go to sleep to some form of meditation music, whether it's sounds of oceans or even if it's guided meditation or something like that. When I'm home, I try to do that because that forces me to be in the present moment, and it forces me to focus on the sounds versus my thoughts. And a lot of times we are in our heads because we can't turn our thoughts off. And so you have to be very intentional in doing so. And of course, makeup is definitely therapeutic for me. When you look good, you feel good, and just being able to transform my face, it definitely puts me in a better space mentally. So those are my top 3 things that I do to stay on top of it if my therapist isn't available.
Awesome. And going back, you mentioned family having a role in your life as it relates to not only your kids, but your core family also, right? So how receptive, if any or at all, has your family been to the changes of your life? How receptive have they been to the evolvings, the newness of who you are, what you represent, and all of the greatness that you are putting into the world? How has that transition kind of been?
I feel like my family has always been proud of me, but the level of proud now is more of, dang, I want to do it too. My mom is I think becoming more open to the whole mental health aspect. So is my brother. Me and my grandma had like this life-changing conversation, but it's also igniting a fire under them to really focus in on the things that they want to do and not just say it, but put some action about it. You know me, I'm about an action type of person. And you can say what you want to do all the time, but unless you put some action and you are really about that, it doesn't matter. So at this point, their proud turns into you're inspiring me. A lot of my family call me with ideas now, and I can talk to them and help them like get out of their own way. You know what I'm saying? And so that's great. I mean, like right now I'm working on something with my mom, and her passion, it's just, because every day is something. Every day she's calling me about something and she's sending me ideas, and I'm just like, I'm behind you 100%, Mom. Like, let's do it. And as long as that fire stays in, she'll accomplish that. And my family, they're still proud, and they express that all the time. And I think hearing that it's just heartwarming to hear that somebody is proud of you. Because you look back, I look back and see where I've been, and what the things that I've been through and where I am now, and it gives me chills, because I know that I've been to the bottom, and I'm not at the top, but I'm not where I'm used to be. And as long as you keep going in a forward motion, that'll keep motivating you to keep going.
I'm not at the top, but I'm not where I used to be. Somebody drop that in the comments. Somebody give us some flavor, some fire on that. See, I didn't know you was coming to preach today. Like, I thought this was just like, and it's funny. So you all there's several of you on here that have rocked with us the last few weeks. And, we started out talking about money, and money in your business, very, very serious, very technical, right? Then we talked about content creation and customer service and real, once again, straight to the business issue. But one thing that I am just very, very big on as I grow this space organically is that you are the center of all the things that you produce, right? So if you aren't okay, those things are not going to be okay. Y'all, and I'm not speaking this ain't the textbook tap knowledge, right? This is the kid who I had 2 degrees before I was 25. I had 2 books before I was 25. I had pretty good credit and business success and all those things prior to even being 25. And I can't even tell you the glory of them because I was not okay. And so since I could not be okay, all of that was just like, added benefits, I guess. And I'm grateful for the experiences of it. But your girl was struggling mentally. Like the 5-year-old me, who also probably got a trophy or something, still had not healed from the pains of her past. She still had not accepted, things that were going on in her family. She still had not decided that I can live with the mask off, right? The mask don't always got to be on. Therefore, hotmess.com, right? So all of those accolades and stuff, like, I'm glad y'all liked it and shared it and did it for the gram, but this person was not okay. So me now having people in my life along a healing journey of their own, along a business journey of their own, along a spiritual journey of their own, and they all kind of collide. Like, I really love those people. So you will see me and Sierra jumping on, doing all kinds of things together, because it's like when we have our action calls, it's like magic, right? It's like magic. And I felt like it was important to interject that right in the midst of doing technical things. Next week, it'll be something else that'll be real super businessy. But I wanted to make sure that before May concluded, we talked about your mental health. We talked about your emotional well-being. We got personal on purpose about purpose, right? Sierra's like, bruh, I didn't go back to the job and I struggled. However, had God given me what I have today last year, I wouldn't have even been ready. Mm-hmm. Y'all.
And people don't want to be transparent about that, but transparency has been the most liberating thing that I've experienced, because transparency makes me real. So yes, let's be transparent. Everybody saw my Louis bag the other day. Okay, but everybody going to make their own assumptions about that too. They're going to assume that they know, but they really don't know. You know what I'm saying? So you can't judge somebody based off just what you see. And so in order for me to tear down that narrative, I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. I'm just, let me just, so you don't even have to make the assumptions. Let me just give you the real, and then you go ahead and make your own determination. But at the end of the day, Sierra has already told Sierra's story, and nobody else can tell that for me. You can't make up things. You can't be around here saying stuff about me, because I know it happens. I know people are watching me and not acknowledging the things that I do. I know that. But at the end of the day, you're going to know it from Sierra and not from anything else. And I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm faking the funk or I'm trying to put on, because you can never say that about me, because I put pretty much everything out there for you to know that there is to know about me.
So we at 12:30. But if y'all have questions, if y'all have feedback, if y'all have comments, this would be the perfect time to type them, because I'm about to bring it home with Sierra. But I have to ask, not only are you transparent when you're interviewed, I've listened to you interview with other people who don't know you as well as I do, and you still put it out there. So it's not y'all. This is not she's putting it on because Tab is interviewing her for Unleashed. This is Sierra, right? How does that translate, right? Like, how are you able to be so transparent all the time, at all times, about all things? Like, how?
I think that because I know how damaging not being transparent can be. I know what secrets can do. I know what sweeping things under the rug can do. I know what hiding behind your pain looks like. And I don't want to go back to that place. I don't want to be in that place. I don't want to be in that space. And I want to live in my truth. Like, I just want to live my life in the most freeing way possible. And if that means uncovering the ugliest parts of me for the world to see, then I'm gonna do that, you know. And I've had people say, like, you want to talk about that? Yeah, I'm sure, because guess what? I had to realize it for myself. I had to come to grips with a lot of things that I faced myself. And if I'm okay with it, damn, what you say? Okay, like, boom. Yeah. So that's how because I got comfortable with me. I got comfortable about the ugliest parts of me. And so the ugliest parts are actually my most beautiful parts. I posted a question on Instagram the other day, and what makes you feel strong? What makes me feel strong is being vulnerable and transparent about the ugliest parts of my life.
Girl, somebody tweet that. Somebody type that in the comments so I can copy and paste it later. Somebody capture that, please. Wow. Can you say that again? Like, run that back one more time.
Yeah. I don't even know what I said. But I believe that what makes me strong.
It's okay. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
How do you be transparent when it involves others, such as a family member affecting you and you wanting to share how it affected you without bashing someone else?
Read Cheers to Him. No. Because I had that same struggle when writing Cheers to Him, because Cheers to Him talks about personal relationships that I had with men and how they impacted me and how they helped me grow. And a lot
including her dad, y'all. Like, she went in.
And so I had to let them know that, look, these are my feelings. This is my perspective and this is my truth. It don't have anything to do with you, because at the end of the day, they're still my feelings. This is my feelings and my perspective. So I tell anybody that if you have feelings, especially as it relates to some kind of relationship or issue that you've had with a family member, stand true in your feelings, because can't nobody take that away from you. At the same time, if you ever feel like you want to have dialogue with that person, you got to approach it the right way, because a lot of times people are going to feel defensive. If you talk to them about something, an issue or something that happened, and they don't understand how it impacted you, you have to approach it in a way that they'll be receptive to. But at the end of the day, know that your feelings are your feelings and yours alone, and can't nobody take that away from you. And it don't matter how it make them feel. You're not responsible for that. You're responsible for yourself.
I read somewhere, this ain't my quote, I'm just dropping it. I read it so many times that I might put my name under it, but it says something along the lines of, we can't control what happens to us. However, we have to control how we heal from it, how we deal with it, and what we do as a result of it. Right? Like, that's our total responsibility. And so to piggyback off Sierra, it might not be a book for you, right? It might not be jumping on a live for you. It might not be even approaching that person. Talk to yourself in the mirror, because have you handled it? Are you okay with how it affected you? And then pivot accordingly. And directly to the point of, if you're going to go have a conversation with them, approach it the right way, whatever that means, because you know that person too. So you can kind of tell if they're going to get defensive or, something like that. But also be okay with not ending that conversation with the outcome that you intended.
Right.
Because you might not get that, right? And I'm gonna get deep. I hope this don't, trigger anyone. If it does, definitely feel free to leave the room. But let's just say, Uncle Bob raped you, right? He may not have thought he did anything wrong, because we don't know what's going on mentally with Uncle Bob. And so you may go to him as a, 25, 30-year-old woman wanting to talk about what happened at 10, 11, 12. A, his mind may still be wherever it was then. B, he may not even want to accept that he really did it. And C, he honestly may not think anything is wrong with it, right? When I think about my sexual abuse situation, the abuser does not think that they abused me. So if the abuser does not realize that it was abuse and it thinks that it was always consensual or that it was A-okay, all I could do was address the situation and it be well with my heart. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
And in that, also saying that people can only show up in whatever capacity that they are in that moment. You as an individual, if you don't deal with your own trauma and your own pain, and you are just as toxic as the person that did something to you.
Wow.
Now, does that mean you're going to go out and be toxic to somebody else? No. But what that means is you're being toxic to yourself. It is not self-soothing for you to keep pain to yourself because you are afraid of somebody else's feelings. That is damaging to you, just like the situation that happened. That is why normalizing mental health is so much bigger than a diagnosis. It is so much bigger than saying, you know what, I was raped. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. I never knew that somebody saying to me when you break up with your first boyfriend that, oh, you'll move on. I didn't know that was going to be a way for me to emotionally shut down for the rest of my life. But it was. But is that traumatic? No, it wasn't anything like specific, like trauma, but it was an incident that caused me to look at things differently. And we have to be responsible for taking care of our own issues, even if it involves somebody else.
Wow. Sierra, girl, they going crazy in the comments. I cannot keep up, okay? But, address yourself in the mirror first and pivot accordingly. Sometimes we have to be okay with walking away and forgiving without getting the apology we know we deserve. My feelings are my responsibility. Y'all, okay? I want to go back to an earlier comment about the quarantine time and people wanting to get back to normal because they don't want to deal with themselves. A key, come on, back me up with some research or some support or something. But if you don't want to, if being with you bothers you, there's something wrong there. And coming from a straight extrovert, like, of course, I miss peopling and events and stuff like that because I get my energy a lot from others. But I also don't mind being by myself. I'm an only child. And this COVID clarity that has been coming through, right, has been a blessing in disguise. Because, I made just as much as I make when I'm bouncing around the world. So, your girl can slow down a little bit after this if she wants to. So can you come to us a little bit about like spending time with self and how critical that is for just
self-isolation? Self-isolation is healthy. Google it. Okay. Self-isolation is a form of self-care. Because at one point I was a person who thrived off of everybody else. I wanted in order to be happy, I needed to be in a group. I needed to be around friends. I had to have people who liked me. And when they didn't, it bummed me out. And so I knew that there was something that was going on with me. And I had to literally sit with myself. I had to do this self-discovery and figure out, what is it that I like about me? What makes Sierra dope? Like, what makes Sierra dope? And when you get to that realization, yes, you can want to be around other people, and you can. I'm not an introvert by any means. However, I like socializing in minimal. And so, like, human interaction, I think, is necessary. However, it's not something that if I don't get, I'm gonna like drive myself crazy. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really you have to get to a place in your life where you're able to find what makes you dope. You have to be able to get in a place in your life where you're able to sit with yourself and be okay with who you are in all aspects of your life. Because I think a lot of this is showing people where they're not in life or what they don't have in life.
Ooh.
And because you really can't do anything else right now, all you have to do is sit in everything that you're not, in every place that you're not in. That should motivate you to change your life. This time should not only give you a time to get some COVID clarity, but to see where you are and where you want to be. What ways can you take yourself from point A to point B? I'll use you for an example. I came to you with a whole page of ideas, and I was like, bro, you gotta help me. You got to help me. And your strategy helped me put things into motion. And I mean, you know the numbers. You know, like you know the numbers. You've seen just what getting out of my own way and really sitting in where I know where I want to be, because that's what COVID did. I was here. You're not there yet. You ain't making enough money. You can't do this. You can't do that. So I had to look at that, forced me to look at those things and really pivot into all of the things that I wanted to do. And now I can show up for myself in the way that I've always wanted to, because I've had time to sit in my house and think about it.
Come on. So many, right? We got to get off of here, y'all. Both of us guys gotta work, gotta go get to work, right? So we can keep those coins flowing. But let me just tell y'all that a big thing, I didn't pay Sierra to do that shameless plug, but sometimes you cannot figure it out all by yourself, right? You may need some guidance, and I'm not the only guiding factor in her life. I'm blessed to be a part of the team. But I'm saying that to say sometimes you need a few folks, but you need to make sure they your folks, right? Because everybody. And what now?
The right folks, not just anybody.
There you go.
Not just anybody.
Yeah. And people that's going to, put you on as well as help you to pivot, because another piece of transparency is right before COVID hit, we went to a conference together, right? Our plans for April, May, June, July, August look nothing like what they look right now. I mean, nothing like it, right? Nothing like it. But COVID came, we stuck through with each other, being in our feelings. I had no idea how to speak to being a mommy, trying to, teach, deal, be with your kids all the time and that. But what I had from my friend was an ear. If I can't give you nothing else, it's an ear. And after giving an ear, she came with a whole page of notes, y'all, for real. And we talked through them things for about an hour and a half. And I sent her back some notes, and she jumped on Facebook and sung my praises. And next thing I know, sis was getting action. Next thing I know, she was like, well, I done talked to so-and-so, and I got this together. And now Rachel gave me a gym, and I'm not going to share her revenue goals because she got a testimony coming soon. But sis has been popping in the middle of a pandemic. It's possible. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to the beginning of this conversation and why we're here. She dealt with herself all the way back to when she produced this first book, Cheers to Him, right? Like she really dealt with herself and her emotions and all the things that have happened to get to the woman that she is today. And I think that that's the piece that some people want to skip, right? Sometimes y'all get a business idea, you get this revelation, you want to move forward, you want to move forward, you want to move forward. I'm not saying you can't move forward and you can't slay in business without dealing with yourself, but eventually it's going to come to a head, right? Eventually, just like that pimple that be on the side of the head, eventually it's going to burst, right? Eventually it's going to burst. And so instead of waiting until eventually happens, begin to deal with yourself in segments. And what better time than the present, right? What better time than the now? Could go on for days, but I'm going to make Sierra end with a gym. I'm not giving no guidelines as to what that gym may be, but I'm making her end with a gym. Thank you all for joining us for this lunchtime chat. Just super excited. I have no idea who's coming next week. As y'all know, I've just been winging this thing, but guess what? It's been working. So if you have suggestions of an amazing woman who is just operating her excellence in her lane, send me suggestions. I love to. You already know I'm going to put my people on first. So I got some folks in mind, but I would definitely love to have your recommendations. Now, Sierra, take us home. We need a gym.
Know that where you are right now does not determine where you're going to go, and neither does where you've been. Because life is about learning and growing, and then it's a continuous process. So if you haven't been able to take the message of your past, learn the lesson and apply it to your present, and if you're not taking the opportunity to learn about what you're going through and the things that you're going through right now as it is preparing you for your future, you need to stop and become present and be more aware of the lessons that life is teaching you.
Well, that's that one. Thanks, you all. Sierra, let the people know how they can connect with you. I've dropped some of the plugs in the comments, but definitely let them know how they can live a fancy life by following and connecting with you.
Yes. Sierra Young on Facebook, FANCEE Solutions. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at FANCEE or Normalize MH, which is specifically geared towards mental health. So definitely check that out.
Yes, y'all, find and follow Sierra. She's dropping gems. She's making waves. She's doing the doggone thing. She got a mommy group too. I'm gonna plug that because I can. So if you are a mom, know a mom, friends with a mom, got colleagues that are moms, definitely have them chime in and connect with Sierra. One thing that I just love about her, and the reason I tell moms about her, is because she's just so doggone transparent that it enables you to do the same in whatever that means for you, right? Like whatever, that means for you. Maybe that's just you being transparent with your kids. Like, y'all getting on my nerves, go sit down, right? Because you want to be the super mom, but you really, 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 really have to be super you first. Kids matter, spouses matter, business partnerships matter, all that matters. But you got to be.
Didn't I tell y'all that Sierra brought the magic? I mean, what an amazing conversation. Like, wow. All right, friends, be sure to rate, review, and share the podcast so that others can come into this space. Shoot me a message. If you have something that you want me to highlight on, a guest that you want me to bring on, some content that you really feel would be fitting for the Unleashed platform, the Unleashed Collaborative, the Unleashed Tribe, let me know. Let me know. I am knee deep into it with working one-on-one with clients and getting myself together in this season. But like I said in the beginning, God told me to be a resource. So that's exactly what I'm being. So if you have something that you feel like I should share or someone I need to link up with, let me know. Don't be afraid to get the contact information in the show notes and hit me up on any of these interwebs. Until next time.
She was very encouraging, very inspiring, and she actually motivated me. I appreciate the fact that she was so authentic and very personable, and it really made me feel like I connected to her story.
What am I inspired to be? Just the best version of myself.
You are listening to Unleash the Podcast, revolutionizing the way women grow, work, live, and lead. Engaging interviews, insightful book reviews, and timeless gems to aid the modern woman in excelling personally and professionally. Hosted by the multi-passionate Tabitha D. James, Unleash the Podcast not only empowers listeners, but also equips them with applicable action-based resources for daily life.